Butter. The golden block we all grew up with, melting on pancakes, sizzling in a pan, dripping over warm bread. It's supposed to be the last simple food left. Just cream, maybe a pinch of salt. What could possibly go wrong? Well, a lot. Because not every stick in the dairy aisle is what you think it is. Some so-called butters are less than 50% real butter fat, bulked out with cheap oils and fillers that have no business on your plate. And here's the danger. These fillers don't just fake the flavor. They've been tied to inflammation and digestive problems. What feels like comfort food can quietly become a silent sabotage of your health. You're not just being shortchanged at the checkout. You're paying the price in ways you can't even see. Yet the packaging tells you a fairy tale. Pasture scenes, rustic fonts, maybe even a wooden churn stamped on the box, all carefully designed to make you believe you're buying something straight from a happy farm. But peel back the wrapper, and the truth is closer to a processed spread from a factory floor. And yes, some of the names on this list will shock you. Brands you've probably trusted for years, brands sitting in millions of fridges right now. That's why in this countdown we're exposing 5 butter brands to avoid at all costs, the ones turning a kitchen staple into a health landmine. But don't worry. I'll also reveal 2 brands that are actually worth keeping so you can enjoy butter without second-guessing every bite. So stick with me, because once you see what's really hiding behind those golden wrappers, you'll never look at butter the same way again. At number 5 is a brand you've almost certainly trusted, Land O'Lakes. For decades, it's been a kitchen staple, from holiday dinners to simple toast on a Saturday morning. The packaging feels safe, the logo feels familiar, and generations have grown up believing it's the gold standard of butter. But peel back the wrapper, and the truth isn't so wholesome. Here's the shocker. Not all Land O'Lakes products are even butter. Yes, some of their sticks are the real deal, but many of their tubs and blends are something very different. Butter spreads that contain less than 50% actual butter fat. The rest is cheap filler, soybean oil, canola oil, stabilizers, and preservatives. In other words, you're paying for a product engineered to trick your tongue while saving the company money. And the danger goes beyond taste. These fillers don't just fake the flavor. They've been tied to inflammation and digestive issues. What feels like comfort food can quietly become a silent sabotage of your health. That golden smear on your bread might look innocent, but inside it's carrying risks you never bargained for. Then there's the sourcing. Land O'Lakes leans heavily on industrial-scale dairies, operations where cows are pushed for maximum yield, often with grain-heavy diets, antibiotics, and hormones. The packaging shows rolling pastures, but the supply chain looks more like an assembly line. When efficiency trumps quality, it's the consumer who ends up with the hidden costs. Even the packaging itself raises concerns. Much of their butter comes in plastic tubs instead of foil-wrapped sticks. Sounds minor, right? But fats like butter are especially good at absorbing substances from plastic. Researchers warn about chemicals leaching into fatty foods over time. It's the kind of hidden risk no brand is ever going to advertise. What makes this sting is the betrayal of trust. Butter is supposed to be the last honest food in the grocery store. Just cream, maybe a touch of salt. Nobody expects to find a chemistry experiment on the label. Yet Land O'Lakes turned one of the simplest foods on earth into a processed blend dressed up with nostalgic branding. Families believed they were buying tradition, but what they often got was a lab project in disguise. And here's the kicker. Once you start adding oils and emulsifiers, you're no longer eating slow-churned butter. You're eating an industrial product designed to look, spread, and taste close enough. It's not just disappointing. It's a health landmine hiding in plain sight. That's why Land O'Lakes opens our list. It's the brand that looks safe, tastes familiar, and feels reliable. But when you dig deeper, you find shortcuts, fillers, and risks that betray everything butter is supposed to stand for. And yes, some of the names still ahead will shock you even more. Because if a company can compromise something as basic as butter, what else are they willing to get away with? At number 4, We've got a name that's probably sitting in millions of fridges right now. Country Crock. The name sounds rustic, the branding looks farmhouse simple. But here's the truth. It's not butter. It's a margarine-style spread built on cheap vegetable oils and additives. Flip the tub over and the difference is obvious. Real butter is cream and salt. Two ingredients, nothing more. Country Crock? Soybean oil, palm oil, emulsifiers, colorings. It's not butter, it's a formula in a tub. And those ingredients aren't harmless. Highly refined oils are stripped of nutrients and prone to oxidation, which can create compounds tied to inflammation and long-term health problems. For years, spreads like this carried trans fats, now heavily restricted, but their legacy as one of the worst fats for the heart still lingers. Even new and improved versions are still industrial products your body doesn't treat like real food. But the risks don't end with health. Country Crock leans on palm oil, one of the most controversial ingredients on the planet. Palm plantations are tied to deforestation, habitat loss, and enormous environmental damage. That little scoop on your toast carries a global cost, even if the label keeps whispering, wholesome. And that's where the betrayal really cuts. Country makes you picture rolling pastures. Crock suggests tradition, maybe a wooden butter churn in a farmhouse kitchen. But what's in the tub is the opposite. An industrial spread engineered in a lab, wrapped in packaging designed to trick you into trusting it. Now, here's the fair part. It is cheaper than real butter, and it's spread straight from the fridge. That convenience is exactly why people buy it. But that softness? It doesn't come from purity. Butter is firm when cold because it's natural. Country Crock is soft because it's been chemically designed to stay that way. What looks like an easy win is really another reminder that you're not eating the real thing. So here's the bottom line. Country Crock isn't butter. It's a formula of cheap oils, environmental shortcuts, and clever marketing, dressed up as something rustic and trustworthy. And that's why it takes the number 4 spot on our list of butter brands to avoid. Because when a brand has to hide behind nostalgia and packaging tricks just to sell you an industrial spread, it's not Country, it's not Crock, and it's definitely not butter. At number 3 is Walmart's in-house brand, Great Value Butter. On the shelf, it looks like the obvious win. Low price, simple label, the no-frills choice millions of families toss in their carts. But with food, cheap almost always comes with a hidden price. Here's the first sign. Complaints about quality. Customers have flagged butter that spoils early, tastes off, or feels greasy instead of creamy. Real butter should hold steady in the fridge and deliver a clean, rich flavor. When it doesn't, that's not bad luck. It's the result of cost cutting somewhere between farm and store. And the reason isn't hard to find. Walmart is famous for squeezing suppliers to the lowest possible price, and dairy farms feel that pressure. To meet demand, much of the milk comes from industrial-scale operations where animals are fed the cheapest diets, treated with routine antibiotics, and pushed for maximum output. The product that lands in your fridge may look like butter, but it doesn't carry the same quality or consistency you'd expect from a brand that cares about more than price. The health implications are quieter, but just as troubling. Butter from cows raised on poor diets tends to have less omega-3s, less CLA, and a skewed omega-6 balance. Nutrients that matter for inflammation and long-term health. You're not just saving $1. You may also be trading away the benefits butter can actually offer when it's produced with higher standards. But perhaps the biggest issue is trust. Walmart sells Great Value as the reliable, affordable option, the brand you can count on. Yet the product itself tells a different story. Sometimes it behaves like butter should. Other times, it spoils too soon or ruins a recipe. And when you can't rely on something as basic as butter to be consistent, what does that say about the brand's commitment overall? So what's the bottom line? Yes, Great Value is cheap, and that's why people buy it. But a product that spoils, underdelivers, and quietly sacrifices quality isn't really value at all. It's an illusion. That's why Walmart's great value butter takes the number 3 spot. Because butter should be the simplest food in the store. Cream, maybe a pinch of salt. When a brand can't even get that right, you're not buying a bargain. You're buying a gamble. At number 2 is a brand that sells itself as pure and wholesome, Challenge Butter. Even the name suggests strength and honesty, the butter that rises above the rest. But while the packaging whispers, farm fresh, the reality tells a very different story. Challenge has faced lawsuits over claims like all natural and hormone-free, with critics arguing that the company's marketing overstated what consumers were really getting. And that's the first warning sign. When a food brand has to defend its honesty in court, you know the gap between image and reality is wide. Behind the name, the sourcing isn't so rosy either. Much of Challenge's milk comes from industrial-scale dairies built for efficiency, not quality. Grain-heavy feed, antibiotics, and production pressure replace the idyllic pastures pictured on the carton. And that matters because butter made under those conditions carries fewer omega-3s, less CLA, and a weaker nutritional profile overall. Instead of being a step up, it's just another product shaped by shortcuts. Then come the light and spreadable lines, products padded with oils and additives. Yes, they spread easily from the fridge, but that's not a feature of purity. It's dilution disguised as convenience, taking a food that should be simple, cream, maybe salt, and turning it into something engineered. And that's where the illusion comes in. Challenge positions itself as better than store brands, a premium but affordable choice you can trust. Families pay a little more expecting quality. What they actually get is a familiar taste wrapped in marketing spin, with no real improvement in sourcing or nutrition. It's not an upgrade. It's a false promise. Now, to be fair, Challenge is everywhere and the taste is reliable. That's why it continues to sell. But that familiarity creates a false sense of safety. You think you've outsmarted the tricks of cheaper brands, when in reality, you've just paid more for the same industrial product. That's why Challenge ranks so high on this list. It's not just butter with a few flaws. It's butter that built a reputation on being better, then failed to prove it. The real challenge isn't picking their carton. It's deciding whether you'll settle for marketing spin or demand the real thing. And brace yourself. Because if this was just lawsuits and false promises, the number 1 brand takes things further. We're talking contamination, hidden dangers, and the kind of risks that can turn butter from a simple staple into a genuine health threat. At number 1, we land on the brand that turned fake butter into a global empire. And the name says it all. I can't believe it's not butter. For decades, this brightly colored tub has sold the illusion of guilt-free indulgence. All the flavor, none of the fat, right? But what it really sold was confusion, chemistry, and one of the biggest marketing tricks in modern food. Here's the truth. This product is not butter, not even close. It's a lab blend of vegetable oils, emulsifiers, stabilizers, and artificial flavors, engineered to mimic the texture of butter while costing a fraction to produce. The original formula even contained partially hydrogenated oils, a major source of trans fats now banned in the US because of their link to heart disease. Even the newer zero trans fat versions still rely on heavily refined seed oils, ingredients that nutritionists warn can promote inflammation and oxidative stress when eaten regularly. The irony? The label proudly shouts about good fats and simple ingredients, but the reality is anything but simple. These tubs are the product of industrial chemistry, heat, solvents, and high-pressure extraction, not churning cream in a dairy. And while the packaging screams light, the long-term cost isn't. Dietitians have noted that consuming ultra-processed fats like these in place of real butter can quietly disrupt hormones, digestion, and even the body's natural ability to metabolize healthy fats. But maybe the biggest deception is emotional. The brand has always positioned itself as a friendly, lighter, healthier alternative. Ads show golden toast, smiling families, and bright kitchens, all selling comfort. But there's nothing comforting about a product that's more chemical experiment than food. It's the ultimate fake-out, the butter that laughs in your face while pretending to be your friend. And here's what makes it worse. Millions still trust it. It's cheap, familiar, and everywhere. People grew up with it. But the familiarity is part of the trap. Because when you stop questioning what's inside the tub, you stop noticing that what you're spreading on your toast isn't food at all. It's a factory formula with a marketing budget. That's why I Can't Believe It's Not Butter takes the #1 spot. It's not just the name, it's the legacy, the brand that taught the world to accept fake as normal. So the next time you see that bright yellow tub, remember, it's not a miracle, it's marketing, and your body deserves better than that. After 5 brands you should avoid, let's end with good news. Not all butter is a trap. In fact, there are 2 brands that stand out precisely because they don't play the same games with fillers, gimmicks, or shortcuts. They stick to the basics: cream, quality, and integrity. And that's why they're worth keeping in your kitchen. First up, Kerrygold. This Irish classic has earned its reputation worldwide. The cows are grass-fed for most of the year, which means the butter naturally delivers higher omega-3s, CLA, and vitamins A, D, and K. You can see and taste the difference: a deeper golden color, a richer flavor, a creaminess that isn't faked with oils or emulsifiers. Compare that to a tub of Land O'Lakes spread or a Country Crock blend, and the contrast is obvious. Kerrygold is the real thing. Second, Tillamook. Based in Oregon and farmer-owned for over a century, Tillamook operates with a model that prioritizes quality over corporate shortcuts. That structure matters because it means the people producing the butter are the ones setting the standards. The result? A flavor that's clean and consistent. No greasy aftertaste, no surprise spoilage, no watered-down light versions hiding behind the label. When you open a Tillamook stick, you know exactly what you're getting: straightforward, authentic butter. Now, yes, both of these brands cost a little more. But unlike the private labels that save you pennies while risking your health, Kerrygold and Tillamook give you something rare in today's dairy aisle: butter you can actually trust. Because at the end of the day, butter is supposed to be simple. With these 2 brands, it still is. And that honesty, in a market full of spin, is what makes them worth every penny. And there you have it. 5 butter brands that cut corners, play games, or outright put your health at risk, and 2 that still deliver the real thing. That's why this channel exists: to call out the scams, the shortcuts, and the hidden dangers that big brands don't want you to notice. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe and tap the bell, because the next recall or contamination scare could be sitting in your fridge right now, and you'll want to hear about it before anyone else. And let me know in the comments, which butter brand shocked you the most? Was it the generics hiding behind blends, or a household name you thought you could trust? I read every single one. Remember, Kerrygold and Tillamook prove honesty still exists in the dairy aisle. But as for the rest, don't let clever packaging fool you. Your health is worth more than their shortcuts.